Did y'all hear what's coming? I was looking at Sam. Sam said that Nolan Well case is turning into a crime investigation. Okay, so if that's the case, then Nolan Well friends are going to get arrested. Their arrests are coming soon, and it's heading to Nolan Wells friends. So I want you guys to watch this video. A lot of people are talking about it. The 60-minute gap that has not been accounted for. And they're finding new evidence. Everything, every day is like a new story. So I want you guys to check this out. It has some very vital information.
Did ChatGPT just help me figure this case out? Let me show you something. Do not scroll away. I had ChatGPT design this diagram below. And what the diagram shows you is the void between these four people right here. You see, all five people. There's a void. Everybody's avoiding something on the floor right there. Why are they not? That's the largest space on the entire boat. Why is nobody standing in the biggest area of the boat? Why is everybody off to the side? If you look at the diagram, the red part shows Nolan's body. And if you look at the dude in the back, in the orange, I asked Google to tell me where that bilge pump is. And that's what he's doing in the back. He's over there messing with that bilge pump. And Wyatt right here is on the phone. Now listen to what I learned. Now, when Wyatt was on that phone call with the CETO company on the stress call, he says that the lady asked him, what is your GPS coordinates? Wyatt says, let me go look. So he had to have been over here with all the commotion going on while he's over here messing with that bilge pump. Wyatt was over here, and he left from over here to go over here to check the coordinates. As you can see, he's on the phone right there where the coordinates is. And if you look at the diagram, you can literally see where Nolan's body could possibly be in this picture where you can't see it. Because I had them tell me what all of this means, what the space is called, and everything. So that space definitely can hold Nolan's body. And as you can see here, what the fuck are they avoiding? Why are they not standing right there? They're avoiding something. There's a whole void in between all these people. And that diagram shows you what's really going on in this picture.
All right, so now at this point, I am pretty sure that the Triton was there all day. They didn't switch out the boats. And I'm also pretty certain at this point that this is a real video, because there's one single frame where you can see Bart's boat, and you can also see the toes of somebody like dangling them off the water. So if the picture or video were AI, it would be a really bizarre thing for it to just kind of throw in. But there's zero question in my mind that this video has been altered. So then the question becomes, why would they alter this video? And the only thing that logically makes sense to me is to alter the identity of the two girls. Because if Carter is the boy in red, Wyatt is the boy in the American shorts, Bart's brother Brooke being the one in the navy blue shorts, and then Ike being the one in the teal shorts. Then we've got Warren up here with somebody in this red striped swimsuit and the girl in the teal swimsuit with the backwards hat. So in this picture, this would be Brooks, this would be Ike, this would be Wyatt, this would be Warren, which would leave this to be Carter. Now, whoever this is seems to be very cuddly with Carter. Like, too cuddly, in my opinion, for it to be like a mother or a family member. Thinking about it a lot from the timeline that we have been told, and what we haven't really been factoring in again is the party. Because remember, Warren said he went to the party, but instead of talking with all of his friends, he went upstairs to go talk with his girlfriend's dad. Now, those families are tight, so if that dad of Ava, if that conversation with the dad didn't happen, then they would automatically know that they were lying. So I've been saying for a while that the girl was somehow involved. And mind you, everybody's back on land now. They're getting ready to do the fireworks, and everybody's swimming and drinking still, blah, blah, blah. So what's the excuse for no pictures at that party? They've explained it all away during the day, but at this point, they're all just being teenagers and having fun again, right? So I'm thinking that the brunette girl is Ava, the girl whose house they went to. And she's pretty close with Warren and the Pyrone family.
And they're full speed running. And then after that, I didn't see them anymore. I think you were on the boat. You start from there? Yeah, so after we planed off, Wyatt kept the boat pinned the whole way in. We ran into the mouth of Fort Bayou, where we came from originally. And we turned into Fort Bayou, went in the channel, ran probably 500, 600 yards into Fort Bayou. Wyatt had jumped out of the boat, put the plug back in the boat so access water. So water didn't keep pushing and filling back the boat.
According to their own words, they went into the mouth and then they turned and they went about 500-600 feet. Now, mind you, the party house is right around, but they go past it and then loop back around. However, Warren just admitted that at some point they had to stop and Wyatt jumped in. Even then, you heard him stuttering over the story. Like, it wasn't a smooth transition. Because I think they dropped her off. Which would explain why they would go back to this party, because obviously they can't cancel the party. That looks really suspicious. Then, my theory has always been that the guys all, like, broke off and, like, talked to the parents about what was going on. And that's when they formulated their whole, we'll call her and then we'll call the Coast Guard plan. Remember, she is related. Somehow I can't figure out, but she is related through marriage to the lieutenant that wrote up the very initial report we've seen. Because remember how Morgan claimed that the picture of the boat stuff was circulating around Snapchat and stuff, even though Christine didn't post it to her Facebook page until the next day. Listen to this.
His mom was, what was he wearing? And so we were trying to remember what color his shorts were. We couldn't quite figure that out. I said black. Yeah, I think we said black. I really did. He was wearing navy blue shorts? Yeah, it was like dark blue shorts. Dark, and I just said black because I was trying to piece everything together and help out. And so at this point, we're freaking out. We don't know where our friend's at. And the girl that took the picture, she was like, okay, well, I just took this picture of today. This is what color swim trunks he was wearing. And his mom asked for that to post on Facebook to say, if you've seen him, whatever, this is what he was wearing.
So remember, the girl who took the picture with the digital camera was on Wyatt's boat at the beginning of the day and then was there with them at night when they were having this discussion. So she had to have been there at the beginning and at the party at the very least. Then we remembered that the original shorts picture, well, that wasn't the color of his shorts, as we now know. But we also know for a fact that this picture did not get sent to Christine until July 5th, meaning that they had to have had that picture and then not sent it to her for hours. Because they also said this.
And so that's what we sent to her, or that's what she sent to her, because we're just trying.
So they corrected themselves. He said, we sent it. No, she sent it. So on July 5th, Christine said that they have been up for almost 48 hours straight. And then the very next post above it are the same pictures, but better quality. Why did it take so long to get these pictures to them? Oh, and y'all, now that I said that, I realize, so all of these pictures had to come from the same digital camera, right? Meaning this picture did as well. And since I've already proven that this picture had used AI to do something weird because, you know, there was no little bar here, only explanation for using AI on just this little part would be to obscure the reflection that was in this pole of the person who was taking the video. Or the pictures. Oh my God, yes. That makes sense. Love it when I figure that stuff out in real time for you on camera. So it makes sense to me that this photo video thing was altered to cover up this girl's swimsuit. Because let's face it, this swimsuit is the ugliest thing. It has like supposedly like sleeves and it's a tankini, but it goes like in a weird cut, but it's ugly. It's ugly and it's clearly not what these debutante beauty queen girls are wearing to a 4th of July beach party. So I'm like 70% sure that this is Ava. Oh wait, oh my God. Wait a second. Shown y'all guys before that there's 4 boats out here in this little cluster, right? But I'm looking at these weird pink lumps and stuff at the front of the boat, Bart's boat here. Is that a pile of life vests? Because I'm realizing there's not 20, 30 people on all of these boats. Like, I'm seeing 10, 12 people here tops. Let's not forget what a full house looks like on these boats. Because even in this video at the meetup place, there's not 20, 30 people getting ready to get on these boats. I mean, the boat left at 9:56 according to the GPS. We got like 7, 8 people here, like 6 people here. And also, if they were legitimately needing to be towed and they were trying to get the water to run off, why are they all spread out on the boat? Why are they on the boat in general? Why didn't they just get off on land or get on another boat? Trying to get the boat to tip up and go planing, why do you have over half the boat on the front of the boat? These are experienced fucking fishermen. They know better than that. Yeah, I can't believe I've never thought of that before. If the boat was sinking, why are they even on the fucking boat? Yeah, and if it was so common and so easy to get, you know, rides back with other people, you know, strangers on Horn Island, why did they need to load everybody on the boat? Why were they yelling at Nolan to get on the boat? They didn't need to get him on the boat. And now that I'm looking at this, doesn't it look like Warren is on the phone? Could this have been when he was calling his mom 8 times? Also, one more thing that stuck out to me.
We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time after we left Jackson's house that night. I was with Wyatt, and one person we were with saw that their location was actually headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, hey, these people are on the way to my house or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this.
He stumbled over his words from beginning to end in that story, so I don't believe any of it. But the one thing that sticks out to me was the phrasing, they don't know anything about this. If people are heading over to your house, why wouldn't you call your mom and dad before you called 911? Because it sounded like he was trying to keep his parents out of the loop of this story, which as a teenage boy implies that you have something to hide. Just a lot of different things to think about, right?
Hey, y'all. Hey, I was tagged in a video from a reliable source that the 19th Circuit District DA office is no longer looking at the Nolan Wells case as an accidental drowning. However, they are now have moved on to looking at it into a criminal investigation, and I think that that is great news. I don't want to get too excited yet because I did go searching in the news outlets and things of that nature, Ben Crump and other people who have been keeping up with this case, and they have yet to mention that yet. So I don't want to get too excited, but the source is very reliable, and he is saying that his inside source has told him that this is what the DA office is now moving into, looking at it as a criminal investigation. I always say I want to be excited, y'all. I really do want to be excited. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. So I'm praying and I'm hopeful that, later this evening, hopefully something will pop up on the media, the news outlets to confirm.
Everybody is now pointing out that Charles and TMZ are now backpedaling on everything they said, because Charles was recently being interviewed, and I think it was by Don Lemon, and he's like, yeah, it's odd that they're going off on Officer Race Tatum's podcast. It's odd that they did this. It's odd that they did that. But TMZ, you have been the ones supporting these young men's PR crusade this entire time. So why now are you finally flip-flopping? Is it because all of the backlash you've been getting for reporting on this so incorrectly and favoring one side over the other? Because every time Harvey was on there, he said, oh, yeah, we've corroborated the footage with them on the CTO call. And then when Trent Out Loud, shout out to
Trent
my
Out
man
Loud.
says Trent Out Loud. Trent Out Loud said, where is the metadata? Where is the META? Where is the META, son? We need to see it all day, son. Where is it? Where's the metadata? And Harvey's like, oh, yeah, we just believe them. So I'm glad TMZ is backpedaling, but you guys should have been on this from day one, because one thing about TMZ, we all respected you on that celebrity tip for always like, why are you guys even using Officer Race Tatum's video with his bug on it, his logo? I've never seen TMZ rock anybody else's video. They always have the TMZ bug on their videos, so do better, TMZ.
Everything you just heard reflects public opinion and ongoing investigative developments surrounding Nolan Wells' case. Today, Nolan Wells would have turned 19. Instead, his family is spending his birthday remembering him and still asking what happened during the final hours of his life. And this week, several developments have put that question back in focus. On August 17th, the NAACP officially joined the Wells family's legal team. Its Office of General Counsel is working with Ben Crump's team as the family pushes for a more thorough investigation and greater transparency. The family's legal team has also said it is ready for a joint forensic examination of Nolan's cell phone, with August 18th through August 21st proposed for that examination. Then Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath said evidence is still being reviewed before presentation to a grand jury. She also said she could not release additional details publicly and warned against relying on unverified information online. None of that means an arrest is coming, but it does mean the case remains active. And all of these developments point back to one unresolved part of Nolan's final timeline: a roughly hour-long gap between his last reported sighting and the boat leaving Horn Island. So what happened during that period? If you've been following Nolan Wells' case, you already know what happened on July 4th. The question now is much narrower. What happened between Nolan's last reported sighting and the moment the boat left Horn Island? Publicly discussed timelines place that last sighting at around 3 p.m., with the boat leaving later in the afternoon, leaving roughly an hour that remains unresolved. That gap doesn't prove a crime or establish that anyone lied, but it matters because investigators need to know what happened during those final known moments. Who was around Nolan, what communications took place, and whether the different accounts match the available evidence. And now, one piece of evidence could help test that timeline. Nolan's cell phone. If the phone can establish even part of what happened during that missing hour, it could change how investigators understand his final hours. And that's why the proposed forensic examination matters. The Wells family's legal team has said it is ready for a joint forensic examination of Nolan's cell phone, with August 18th through August 21st proposed for the examination. The significance isn't that the phone automatically contains the answer. It doesn't. It's that digital evidence can potentially provide information that can be compared with everything else investigators know. Depending on what remains available and what can technically be recovered, a forensic examination could potentially reveal communications, timestamps, application activity, available location information, and other digital records. The real value comes from comparison. Take a timestamp, compare it with a witness account, compare that with available location data, then compare it with the boat's movements. If those pieces line up, they can strengthen a timeline. If they don't, investigators have another question to answer. That doesn't automatically mean someone lied. There can be innocent explanations for discrepancies. But discrepancies still have to be explained. There has also been intense online speculation about whether Nolan's phone was altered or whether information was deleted. Those claims should not be treated as established facts. A forensic examination is what can determine what happened to the available data, and that is why this development matters. The question isn't whether Nolan's phone contains something dramatic. It's whether the phone can help establish what happened during a period that remains unclear. Because if the digital evidence tells a different story from an existing account, what happens next? The grand jury. That question becomes even more important because the investigation is moving toward a grand jury. District Attorney Angel Myers-Meskelrath said, evidence is still being reviewed before presentation to a grand jury and that she cannot release additional details publicly. The official picture is therefore fairly clear. The evidence review is ongoing. The public has not been given the complete investigative record, and there has been no official announcement that Nolan's death has been determined to be a homicide. The state autopsy and toxicology results are complete, but remain sealed pending grand jury review. The independent autopsy commissioned by Nolan's family was previously inconclusive, and the cause and manner of Nolan's death remain publicly undetermined. So when people online say arrests are coming, that remains speculation. There have been no arrests connected to Nolan's death. There have been arrests related to threats against witnesses or officials involved in the wider controversy. But those are separate matters. They are not arrests for Nolan's death. A grand jury presentation also does not guarantee that charges will follow. It is part of the legal process through which prosecutors present evidence for consideration. What happens after that depends on what the evidence establishes. And that's why the next stage could be important. If the cell phone examination provides reliable information, that could become part of the broader evidence review. If the sealed autopsy and toxicology findings answer questions about Nolan's death, those findings could also become significant. And if prosecutors ultimately find evidence of criminal conduct, the grand jury process could become the point where this case takes a different legal direction. But we're not there yet. Why the NAACP's involvement matters. On August 17th, the NAACP officially joined the Wells family's legal team. Its Office of General Counsel is now working with Ben Crump's team as the family pushes for greater transparency and a more thorough investigation. The NAACP's involvement does not establish that Nolan was murdered. It doesn't identify a suspect, and it doesn't mean an arrest is imminent. What it shows is that the family is continuing to push for answers while the official evidence review remains underway. And the timing is notable. The NAACP joins the legal team. The family is pursuing a joint forensic examination of Nolan's cell phone. The district attorney says evidence is still being reviewed, and the case is moving toward grand jury consideration. Those developments don't solve the case, but they raise the stakes around the same basic question. What can the evidence actually establish about Nolan's final hours? Because that's where this investigation ultimately has to go. There is another reason today matters. August 19th would have been Nolan's 19th birthday. His family shared a personal birthday message with CNN, and a national day of prayer is being held in his memory. Reverend Al Sharpton is leading a virtual vigil at 11 a.m. Central Time. Later, an in-person prayer rally is scheduled for 7 p.m. at Greater St. John AME Church in Biloxi, with Dr. Jamal Bryant as keynote speaker. For Nolan's family, this isn't simply another day in an investigation, it's his birthday. A day that should have been about turning 19 is instead another day spent asking how he died. And that's worth remembering when the discussion turns to phones, timelines, and grand juries. There is a family behind this investigation that is still waiting for answers. Today, they are remembering Nolan. What happened during that missing hour? It may not be one dramatic discovery. It could be several pieces of evidence finally lining up, a phone record, a timestamp, a witness statement, a location record, a forensic finding. Each one might seem limited on its own. Together, they could establish a much clearer sequence. And the reverse is true. If important pieces don't agree, investigators have to determine why. That's what makes the timeline important. Not because an hour proves anything, because that period sits between Nolan's last reported sighting and the boat leaving the island. If investigators can reconstruct it, they may be able to narrow down what happened. The evidence might support accounts that have already been given. It might challenge them. Or it might reveal something nobody outside the investigation has seen. Any of those outcomes would matter, because the goal isn't to make the evidence fit a theory. The theory has to fit the evidence. That's also why the district attorney's warning about unverified information matters. A viral post isn't a forensic finding. A social media theory isn't proof. And repeating an accusation doesn't turn it into evidence. The investigation has to operate differently. Statements have to be compared. Digital information has to be examined. Forensic findings have to be interpreted. And prosecutors ultimately have to decide whether the evidence supports criminal charges. So if the evidence now being reviewed finally explains that missing period, could that be the point when the question of arrests becomes something more than speculation? Right now, nobody can responsibly say. There have been no arrests connected to Nolan Wells' death. For now, there is still a lot the public doesn't know. We don't know everything contained in the state's autopsy and toxicology results. We don't know what a joint forensic examination of Nolan's cell phone will reveal. We don't know everything prosecutors will eventually present to the grand jury. And we don't know whether any of that evidence will result in criminal charges. But we do know the investigation remains active. And we know one part of Nolan's final timeline remains unresolved, that roughly hour-long gap. Today, Nolan should have been 19. His family is remembering him while still waiting for answers. And the question isn't whether the internet can solve this case. It can't. The question is whether the evidence now being examined can finally explain what happened between Nolan's last reported sighting and the moment the boat left Horn Island. Because that's where this case keeps coming back, that missing hour. And if investigators eventually account for it, we may finally understand whether it was simply an unresolved part of the day, or something that changes the direction of the entire case. If you want to follow the verified developments in the Nolan Wells case as they emerge, please subscribe to this channel. And if you're following